What's good? What's happening? What's really going on? It's the Clenz coming at you yet again with another inspirational and fulfilling message that will serve as the building blocks for your success. So, I personally believe that the conversations we have with ourselves are the most instrumental and probably the most powerful conversations because the messages are dug deeply into our belief systems and how we view ourselves and the world. Okay? And the conversations that we have with ourselves tend to be, on average, the most chaotic, most argumentative, and generally conflicted conversations because we constantly have to figure out why we made the mistakes that we did, why we respond the way that we did to a situation, why we slipped up and made a mistake, and blah blah blah. And all of these questions tend to spark conversation. And when we ask these questions, we also tend to respond back. Okay, and it's very important that the questions you ask yourself and the responses that you pay attention to are going to be helpful and going to be beneficial for you and your health. Because a lot of the times people ask the wrong questions, get the wrong answers, and start believing in those wrong answers, and then the next thing you know, they start to believe in all of these wrong ideas that they get from these conversations. So, for instance, you could ask yourself, man, why do I always tend to fuck up when things seem to be going right? Okay? See, first of all, that's a horrible question to even ask yourself. Okay? The way that it's worded is very disempowering, and the response you're going to get is pretty much going to mirror that attitude. So the response you're going to get after asking that question is probably going to be something along the lines of, well, it's because you're lazy and nobody likes you and no one's ever going to notice you. Something like that. Okay? Now, these types of messages will spark into a conversation where you're defending yourself and trying to defend the well-being of your mental health, to preserve, your strength to continue, right? So you might be down in the dumps, about this conversation you had with yourself and start to believe in these false messages based on the experiences you've had. So that goes to show how powerful these questions can be. And I think that, and these conversations, and I think that if you start to change the conversation, you have to start asking the right questions. Because once you start asking the right questions, you will receive the right responses for you to believe, and that actually has a ripple effect on yourself and your life. So you can ask yourself, why am I so successful? Why am I so healthy? Why am I so amazingly innovative and just wild when it comes to creating what people need, right? See, those types of questions are, regardless of what you do, the mind is immediately going to give you a response, okay? And that response is going to be something like, well, it's just because it's who you are, or it really depends on yourself, your mind, your situation, and your thought process, but nevertheless, it's going to give you an answer, okay? So you have a right question, you have a right response, and then those are the conversations that you start to believe. Those are the messages that you start to gather and piece together who you are and really your personality, and that can create the ripple effect of those questions, those conversations, those messages actually taking place and appearing in your reality, okay? Because again, the thoughts, as you know, in these conversations and these ideas and these feelings really do play a role and influence our reality and what we see outside of us, okay? So it's just about flipping the script, man. Rewriting the script, you dig? Redefining the definitions, doing things differently, and just playing with it, okay? And on a more practical level, All right. Questions, I feel, are so vital to understanding. Okay. And so vital to success and really getting to the next level. Okay. I know that's vague, but it's because questions and communication, all right, are, you know, that is a building block. All right. And, you know, people can talk themselves into an opportunity, talk themselves out of trouble, etc., etc. So communication and questions on a more practical level is when you start to ask people the right questions. If you're ever around people that have achieved a level of success in areas that you would like to, then really be careful on asking the right questions, right? You know, if you ask the specific questions, right, that are defined and intentful, right, and impactful, you know, it's like an investment. When you invest in your question, right, you're going to get a response that is going to give you large returns, right? If you just ask a vague question, if you just ask, you know, how did you do this or whatever, it's like, no, get deep into what it is that you want to ask, so that way you can actually receive the insight that you need. Okay. So again, man, questions. Even the genius asks them, and actually the genius probably asks more questions than most, and that's why they are there. So nevertheless, stay communicating, stay perfecting how you deliver your communication internally and externally. And until next time, it's the Clenz.